And now we find some space for us. Whether you're reflecting on your week or planning your weekend, I'm glad you joined me for Coffee with Dubs. Let's draw up some battle plans.
You know, I think this week accidentally became something much bigger than motivation. At first, it felt like a normal Coffee with Dubs week. Talking about walks with the dogs, work stories, mural updates, trying to balance life while squeezing creativity into the corners of everyday stuff where I could fit it. But somewhere along the way, that pattern started forming. Every conversation this week kept circling back to the same different disguises. How do we stay human while life keeps moving so damn fast? Because this week, we talked about making room for life. We talked about breathing spaces. We talked about unfinished things. We talked about emotional restraint. We talked about sharpening worry parts. We talked about slowing down enough to actually notice moments we were living through. And being here now, heading into another day, I think, the reason those themes kept repeating themselves is because maybe that's what people are starving for right now. Not perfection, not hustle culture, not fake positivity, not another productivity lecture. People are starving for permission to feel human again.
Because the world right now feels like a machine that constantly wants more from you. More speed, more opinions, more output, more reactions, more certainty, more productivity, more emotional energy than most people realistically have left to give. And after a while, you stop feeling like a person and start feeling like a system trying not to crash.
I think that's why I've been feeling creatively drained today too, if I'm being completely transparent about it. Not empty creatively, just stretched, because inspiration doesn't disappear when you're tired, it just gets quieter. And I think people panic when that happens. They assume the silence means something's wrong, that they lost the spark, that they're failing somehow because they're not constantly overflowing with ideas or energy or emotional clarity. But maybe silence isn't failure. Maybe it's recovery. Maybe your brain sometimes needs time to absorb before it translates it into something meaningful again.
And that's something that the mural can teach me too. There are days where progress looks dramatic. Huge layout shifts, big visible changes, moments where the project suddenly leaps forward. And then there's days like today. Progress, subtle. One line gets refined, a section gets adjusted, one small decision made carefully. Both matter, and honestly, I think people forget that too about themselves. Not every day needs to be transitional to still have value. Some days are for momentum, some are for reflection. Some days are for building, and some days are simply for surviving gracefully without losing yourself in the process. And maybe that's the reprisal this week needed. Not another speech about pushing harder, a reminder that sustainable growth usually comes from balance, not consistent acceleration.
Because people who burn brightest without rest eventually burn out eventually too. And that's why these small things kept showing up in these talks. Walking the dogs, rainy days, coffee, family visits, post office trips, quiet studio moments, overcast skies, and breathing spaces. Those weren't distractions from life. That was life. And maybe the healthiest thing we can do is stop treating ordinary moments like they're just filler between accomplishments.
Because eventually, you realize the ordinary moments were the story the entire time. And maybe that's today's reminder. You don't need to constantly reinvent yourself every morning to still be growing. Sometimes growth looks a lot quieter than that. Sometimes growth is simply becoming more present, aware, patient, more intentional, and more compassionate towards yourself while you try to figure things out.
And if you're feeling a little drained lately too, maybe that doesn't mean you're broken. Maybe it just means you're carrying a lot for a long time. So breathe. Slow down where you can.
Protect your peace where possible. Keep creating even if the process feels messy. Keep showing up even if the energy shifts day to day. Because unfinished things can still become beautiful. Quiet moments can become meaningful. And tired people can still build incredible lives one intentional day at a time. And that's what I'm doing. So I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Coffee with Dubs.